Black magic is not just a myth. It's been linked to some of the most chilling crimes in history, and I'm about to share some of the most disturbing stories with you today. But do you know what black magic is and where it originated? Black magic has been a part of human culture for centuries, with roots in ancient civilizations. This dark and mysterious practice has been used for various purposes, from gaining power to seeking revenge. Historical records show that black magic was often associated with witchcraft, and those who practiced it were feared and persecuted. The fear of black magic has been so intense that it has led to the execution of thousands of people, mostly women, accused of necromancy and sorcery. The concept of black magic has evolved over time, and its practice has become more discreet, but the fear and fascination surrounding it remain. In this video, we will explore 3 chilling cases where black magic played a pivotal role, examining their harrowing impact on the lives of those involved, as well as the broader societal implications. The origins of black magic, as seen in modern times, trace back to ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and India, where magic was deeply intertwined with religious and spiritual practices. However, the term black magic itself evolved from the medieval Latin word for necromancy, referring to forbidden practices like summoning demons and performing harmful rituals. Medieval Christianity portrayed black magic as the worship of demonic entities, and this thinking has stuck with it for centuries, with it developing a reputation of harming others and causing mayhem over its long history, including the very crimes and cults you'll see here today. Warning, this video discusses topics such as crime, sexual violence, torture, occult topics, religious themes, and mentions of illegal substances, cults, and mutilation. This video serves as an educational resource. Viewer discretion is advised. The Matamoros Killings, a series of brutal murders that took place in the spring of 1989 in Matamoros, Mexico, and were carried out by a drug smuggling cult led by Adolfo Constanzo. Adolfo Constanzo was born on November 1, 1962 in Miami, Florida. Adolfo Constanzo was the son of a Cuban father and a Mexican mother. His family moved to Mexico when he was young. He had a troubled childhood and became deeply interested in religious activities. In the mid-1980s, Constanzo founded a cult. He and his followers believed that human sacrifices would provide them with supernatural protection through Palo Mayombe, an Afro-Cuban religion that involves healing, protection, and sometimes dark magic. The killings began in early 1989 when Constanzo and his followers kidnapped several individuals, luring them with promises of drugs or other deceptive means. One of the most notable victims was Mark Kilroy, a 21-year-old student from the University of Texas. He was abducted while walking with friends during a spring break trip in March 1989. Kilroy was tortured and murdered, becoming a symbol of the cult's brutality. After Kilroy's disappearance, his family and friends contacted local police and U.S. authorities, prompting a search effort that gained significant media attention. In April 1989, when police were investigating the disappearance of several people, including Mark Kilroy, authorities received tips about a possible mass grave. On April 13, 1989, authorities uncovered a mass grave at Rancho Santa Elena, where Kilroy's mutilated body was found alongside those of 14 other victims. According to tradition, objects such as stones, wood, insects, plants, and other personal items were placed into special bags or cauldrons. Following this, the bags were fed with animal blood or rum, as practitioners believed that these containers held spirits. If properly cared for, these spirits would grant requests for healing, protection, or fulfillment of specific commands. To solidify their connection with these spirits, human and animal remains were often added to the cauldrons, with human skulls playing a crucial role in sealing agreements with the spirits. This practice was thought to enhance the potency of the rituals and the effectiveness of their requests. As law enforcement investigated further, they discovered that Adolfo Constanzo and his cult were involved in drug trafficking and occult practices. Witnesses began to come forward, revealing that Constanzo and his followers practiced Palo Mayombe rituals, which included human sacrifices. The police arrested several cult members during the investigation, and some of them shared details about their rituals and Constanzo's role in the crimes. One cult member confessed to participating in kidnappings and murders as part of their beliefs. On May 6, 1989, the police located Constanzo and some of his followers in a safe house in Mexico City. As the police approached, Constanzo shot himself after killing one of his accomplices. His death ended the immediate threat but left many questions about the cult's activities unanswered. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, was an American serial killer and rapist who terrorized Southern California in the mid-1980s. His crime spree, which spanned from 1984 to 1985, included numerous home invasions, sexual assaults, and murders, drawing significant media attention and public fear. Richard Ramirez was born on February 29, 1960, in El Paso, Texas, and was the youngest of 5 children in a Mexican immigrant family. His father worked as a laborer, and his mother was a homemaker. Ramirez had a difficult childhood involving domestic violence and abuse. He was influenced by his older cousin Miguel, a Vietnam War veteran who introduced him to violence and satanic practices. Ramirez's criminal tendencies began in his teens, primarily with petty theft and breaking and entering. His series of violent crimes began in April 1984 and lasted until August 1985. Ramirez would enter homes at night, often by forcing open windows or doors. He killed at least 13 people during his crime spree, often using a variety of weapons, including guns, knives, and blunt instruments. Many of his victims were sexually assaulted, with Ramirez often taunting and humiliating them before killing them. Williamson Drive murders refer to the first known murders committed by Richard Ramirez, marking the beginning of his infamous crime spree. The Williamson Drive murders occurred on April 10, 1984, in the San Gabriel Valley area of Los Angeles County. Mei Lung, a 9-year-old girl, was kidnapped from her home while she was alone. Her body was later found near an abandoned building. She had been sexually assaulted and murdered. That same night, Dale and Virginia Ernest, a couple aged 68 and 65, were also targeted by Ramirez. He broke into their home, brutally attacked them, and killed them before using their car to escape. These murders received significant media attention as they were part of Ramirez's violent crime spree. At the time, the police faced challenges in tracking him down due to the randomness of the attacks and a lack of witnesses. Ramirez would often leave satanic symbols at the scenes of his crimes, including pentagrams. He believed that these symbols would invoke the power of Satan and serve as a mark of his devotion to the dark beliefs he held. He sometimes taunted his victims with references to Satan, expressing his belief that he was serving him. This involved verbally humiliating his victims and suggesting that he was carrying out his murderous acts as part of a ritualistic process. After committing several attacks in East Los Angeles, witnesses began to provide crucial descriptions of Ramirez, especially noting his distinctive teeth and appearance. On August 30, 1985, Richard Ramirez was arrested in East Los Angeles near the Ramona Gardens housing projects. Residents recognized him from police sketches and confronted him, leading to a chase. He tried to escape but was cornered, and police arrived shortly after to apprehend him. At the time of his arrest, Ramirez was still wearing the same clothes described by witnesses. Police found several items linking him to his crimes, including a backpack containing stolen property from his victims, a pentagram drawn on his hand, which he used to signify his allegiance to Satan. Ramirez's trial began in 1988 and drew significant media attention due to his actions, satanic beliefs, and behavior in court. He openly declared his allegiance to Satan, drew pentagrams during the trial, and frequently referenced his beliefs. In 1989, he was convicted of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assault, 14 burglary. He was sentenced to death. Charles Manson family. The Charles Manson family was a group of followers led by Charles Manson, a notorious figure in the 1960s and early 1970s. The group gained infamy for their involvement in a series of shocking and brutal crimes, particularly the Tate LaBianca murders in 1969. Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio. Manson had a troubled childhood marked by neglect and instability. He spent time in juvenile detention and was incarcerated for various offenses throughout his youth. Manson developed a belief system mixing ideas from Hinduism, Christianity, and the counterculture of the 1960s. He preached apocalyptic visions and believed that an impending race war, which he called Helter Skelter, was imminent. Helter Skelter was originally a 1968 song by the Beatles, but Charles Manson misinterpreted it as a prophecy of an impending race war. He claimed the song, along with other tracks from the White Album, contained hidden messages foretelling this apocalyptic conflict. Manson envisioned his family retreating to an underground city during the chaos, emerging afterward to establish dominance over the survivors. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi later termed this belief the Helter Skelter theory, which became a cornerstone of the case against Manson and his followers. The Tate LaBianca murders were two of the most infamous and brutal killings committed by members of the Manson family under the direction of Charles Manson in August 1969. On August 8th to 9th, 1969, a horrific series of murders took place at 10,050 Cielo Drive in Los Angeles, California, the home of Sharon Tate, a well-known actress who was 8 months pregnant at the time. The victims included Jay Sebring, a celebrity hairstylist and Tate's former boyfriend; Abigail Folger, a coffee heiress and close friend of Tate; Wojciech Frykowski, a Polish film director and friend of Tate; Stephen Parent, a teenage friend of the property's caretaker who was visiting. Charles Manson ordered his followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, to carry out the murders as part of his twisted plan. The group approached the house under the cover of darkness, cutting the phone lines and surrounding the property to prevent any escape. Once inside, they tied up Sharon Tate and her guests. After interrogating them about their identities, the attackers proceeded to murder them in a brutal and senseless rampage. Sharon Tate was repeatedly stabbed in a horrific assault. In a chilling act, the word "pig" was written in blood on the front door of the house. Jay Sebring was shot in the attack, while the other victims were stabbed multiple times. Shortly after the murders, the bodies of Sharon Tate and her guests were discovered by William Garrettson, who was the caretaker's friend and was staying in the guest house. He called the police when he found the scene at Cielo Drive. The days following the Tate murders, the LAPD launched a focused investigation, but they had no clear suspects or leads initially. They were gathering forensic evidence and interviewing potential witnesses. The night following the Tate murders, on August 10, 1969, the LaBianca murders took place at 3301 Waverly Drive in Los Angeles, California, home to Leno LaBianca, a successful grocery store owner, and his wife, Rosemary LaBianca. Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, upon arriving at the LaBianca home, overpowered Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, quickly tying them up to prevent any chance of escape. Leno LaBianca was stabbed multiple times, while Rosemary LaBianca endured even more horrific violence, and the nature of her injuries was particularly gruesome. Witness accounts and autopsy reports indicate that she was attacked with a knife in a frenzied assault. In a chilling display of their brutality, the word "war" was carved into Leno's stomach, and the word "death" was written in blood on the refrigerator door. Charles Manson believed that these murders would incite a race war between blacks and whites. He envisioned that the brutal nature of the killings would create widespread chaos, ultimately allowing him and his followers to rise to power amidst the societal turmoil. This twisted ideology reflected Manson's delusions of grandeur and manipulation, further establishing the terrifying nature of his cult and the violence they would enact. On the evening of August 10th, Leno LaBianca and his wife, Rosemary, were reported missing when family members failed to reach them. Upon arriving, officers found that the front door was unlocked. They entered the home to conduct a welfare check. Leno LaBianca was found in the living room. Rosemary LaBianca was discovered in the bedroom. The LAPD quickly recognized the similarities between the Tate and LaBianca murders, particularly the nature of the violence and the messages left behind. This prompted detectives to treat the LaBianca killings as potentially connected to the Manson family, who were suspected of having orchestrated the Tate murders. Although the police were still investigating the Tate case, they had not yet identified Charles Manson was a suspect in either case when the LaBianca murders took place. The police were focused on identifying connections to the Tate victims and gathering evidence from that scene. The connection to Manson did not emerge until a few days later, particularly after Susan Atkins was arrested on August 16, 1969, for an unrelated charge. During her time in jail, she boasted about her involvement in the Tate murders, which led to the investigation into Manson and his followers. The police began to piece together the involvement of Manson and his cult in both the Tate and LaBianca murders through witness testimonies, including those from Atkins, and later, Linda Kasabian testified about the events that took place. While she did not participate in the killings, she witnessed the events and later provided crucial information to law enforcement. Following the investigations and with enough evidence pointing towards Manson's involvement, he was arrested on October 12, 1969, along with several other family members. The arrest took place in a police raid at a ranch in Inyo County where Manson and his followers were living. On January 25, 1971, the jury found Manson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Watson guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Manson and several of his followers were initially sentenced to death, but in 1972, California's Supreme Court invalidated the state's death penalty laws, resulting in their sentences being commuted to life imprisonment. And not gonna lie, bro, these were the terrifying crimes involving black magic. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel and show your support. Comment down below and tell me what you think about black magic, and you can also suggest topics for the next video.